welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be sewing up the Essential Cargo Belt Bag by Evergreen Threads. This is a really nice double zipper compartment, hip / waist / fanny pack. There's so many words to describe this type of bag, but we are going to be sewing up this one today. I would rate this pattern personally as an intermediate pattern. There are 3 binding areas in this bag, plus the double zipper can make it a little bit challenging to come out nicely. But if you take your time, you can definitely do it. This is a 2 bobbin bag, and I didn't use much of the second bobbin. If I did the appliques that are featured in the pattern, it probably for sure would use way more, obviously, of 2 bobbins, but it is a 2 bobbin bag. In my version, we are not doing card slots. I personally don't like doing card slots, so I'm not going to do them, but there are great instructions in the pattern if card slots are something you'd like to add on yours. Instead, I do a slip pocket on this middle divider thing. There's a slip pocket for both of the compartments. I did divide my slip pocket in this one right here. This is big enough though of a slip pocket area to just slide your phone. I have an iPhone 14. It's not like the ginormous one, but it slides very nicely in there. I did the zippered pocket in both of them. I definitely encourage you to give this pattern a try. It is a really pretty simple sew besides the binding, but if you've bound before, it should be okay. You should be fine. For the one we're sewing today, I did have the zipper pulls go separate ways. I thought it was a little easier to sew on one step where they would both be basically touching by each other. So I don't mind it. I actually really prefer it. Next time I make this bag, I'll do the same thing again. But if you want both of your pulls to go in the same way like on this bag, you just have to face them the same way when you're constructing it. I just kind of did it as an experiment for this. Another thing you might want to change is how long your strap is. I cut this one at 48 and it's still pretty big. You probably could cut it down. I am 5'8", like 190, just for reference, and I have it not all the way together, and you can see it for reference on my body. This would be if I wore it like the fanny pack way, which is really nice. If you want to wear it the way all the kids are wearing it, I still feel like it's a little bit extra, but it's very size inclusive. So that's like how my son wears his. It's not for me. I have a bad neck, so I'll just wear mine like this. You can see this is like tightened almost all the way, and it's fitting, so judge that how you will. For my supplies on this one, this is a new vinyl coming soon to Fabric Therapy. It's like a shimmery glitter vinyl, but it's not. I don't know how to describe it. It's so cool. This bag magnet I got from Extra Magical Designs. This webbing is from Fabric Therapy from a while ago, I'm pretty sure. I'm sorry, I just kind of went through my stash for this. These pink zippers, I also don't know, but I know the zipper pulls are from Siah Swag. On the inside, I'm using pink 1-inch elastic from Amazon. That's linked below. And I have this really fun Nightmare Before Christmas print on the inside. I also do not know where that came from, so not really helpful, but that's just, it's more of a stash bag except for the new vinyl, but I just really thought lavender with hot pink and stripes was my jam. This was the very first one I made. This is a really nice basket weave vinyl from my Little Shindig. It is domestic friendly as well. This is from Thunderbird Handcrafted. It's part of their August Dynamic Fabric Kit. It's like a Western Gothic theme. The cool thing about that kit is you also get a really nice hand-dyed fabric that coordinates well. So that's what I did on this very first one. This webbing is from Weft Warp. It's very luxurious. Let's see if I can get it to focus. You can see it's very silky looking. So 2 bags, totally different vibes. All right, let's get to sewing, bestie. For this bag, you're going to need 2 exteriors. If you are doing the applique, one of these would be appliqued. Today we're just going to be installing a bag magnet. So you need 2 exteriors. One will be the front, one will be the back panel. You're going to need your main gusset top exterior, your main gusset bottom, and your front gusset bottom. All of mine have been interfaced with Decaville Light out of the seam allowances. For the interior, we're going to need 4 of your main panel piece. I have these interfaced with sewcialize Plus. You're going to need your main gusset bottom. I did go ahead and use a print on this one. You will see this inside of the bag. I have the front gusset bottom. I just did this out of waterproof canvas because you do not really see this once you've attached your binding. The same goes for the main gusset top. You will not see this much inside the bag, so I just use waterproof canvas. That way I can save my nice print and save on interfacing. I have 2 slip pockets out of waterproof canvas folded in half. It's 8.5 inches wide, so you'll need to make sure if you have a directional print for folding that everything's going the way you like. I have 2 zipper pocket linings. You are going to need some strap wings. I'm using 1.5 inch webbing today, so these are reflecting that size. For interfacing, for additional stabilizer, I did do 2 cuts of foam of the main panel. One will be for the front and one will be for the back. And I have the main gusset is going to have a little bit of extra foam. You're going to need some binding. I use 1 inch fold over. I have my 2 cuts of webbing per the pattern piece. This is 1.5 inch. I have 3 zipper tapes cut to length. I will say on this zipper tape, it's a little bit of a thicker zipper tape than normal. I do think this is best to get a nice look on the double zipper. A couple woven tags just for fun. 3 zipper pulls. For your strap hardware, you can either use a metal buckle like this. They make plastic options as well. Or if you do not have a buckle, like I do not have one in matte black for 1.5 inch webbing, I'm going to be using a Bermuda triangle ring. I think that's what they're called. You can also just use a D-ring. You could use a rectangle ring, but it might clasp it kind of funny, but anything like this will work. This is in 1.5 inch for my webbing size. And to correspond with that, I have a swivel clasp that's 1.5 inches as well. Also going to be needing an adjustable slider. Mine's a fixed bar, but you just need something to help hold that strap and adjust it. And just for fun, we're going to put this bag plate on the front of the bag to tie it in. If you're going to be doing the zipper pocket, you could use this pattern piece with the box cut out and apply the Decaville Light to one of your lining pieces, and that will end up being the back lining for the main compartment. I am not going to be doing that today. There were some adjustments made to my pattern piece, so it's not necessary. It is a nice way to install it that's a little easier. Today we are using Cotton Candy Swirl from Siah Swag. We have our various sewing room friends. This is Buddy. And this is Ivy, aka Hellcat. Yep, she's unimpressed. We also are going to be sewing on my Juki 1181N. Okay. We've got our various feet here. We've got double stick tape, extra bobbins. Frodger's here to help out. He's a good little sport. A little cutie. Size 19 needle. We've been recently oiled. New needle. Alright, let's go. Okay, first we're going to build our straps. So you'll need both of your strap cuts. I'm going to add a fun woven tag. And I have all of my hardware here. This is going to be my back panel. Go ahead and find your centers of everything if you haven't already. Okay, we're going to take one of your straps and as you can see on this bag here, I put the connector to the left. You can put the connector to the right, but you're just going to need to pay attention once we build this side thing because it's just sewn on top here. You'll need to pay attention which one is top stitched the right way, like the top stitch side you like is up. So when you're building the bag, we're going to build the connector. We're going to attach it on the right with the outside facing up, okay? Just to kind of orient you. This was something when I was making my first one, I was like, wait, where do I want my connector? So if that's something that matters to you, just pay attention to that, okay? Fold the connector in half, wrong sides together, match up the edges. I have no interfacing on my vinyl because it's thicker. If you had thinner vinyl, you might want to interface it. We're going to sew along both of these edges here with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Take your scissors and trim down your seam allowance by this curve here, this top curve right here, and a little off of here. And you're going to go ahead and turn this right side out. A turning tool might help you if you have a thicker vinyl. Since my connector is going to be on the left, this is the side I want to top stitch on. If you wanted your connector to be on the right, the D-ring or whatever you're using on this side, the shorter end of the webbing, you're going to want to put it this way. So whatever way you want it to look when you're looking at the bag for top stitching, put that side up. Okay, you want it on this side, top stitch this side. You want it on this side, top stitch this side. I'm going to make it how I made it before, so I'm going to top stitch this way. And we're going to top stitch all 3 edges. You could also top stitch this edge if you want, just to close it up. It doesn't really matter. It does get caught when we attach it. So now take your shorter piece of webbing and you're going to fold it in half, attach your connector in here depending on which way you're doing it. I'm just going to clip, but you can sew right here. A good idea to prevent shifting is to apply a little piece of double stick tape in between these 2 layers. I did have a little bit of shifting on my last one when installing it, so I'm going to just prevent that from shifting and add a little bit of tape out of the seam allowance. Remember, you are going to sew a boxed corner right here, or a box stitch right here, so do not get that in the way. Now you're going to line up the raw edge with this raw edge, and it lines up right across the top here. It doesn't, just really try to make sure. I'm going to put another piece of tape on the back where it attaches to my vinyl. Go ahead and clip that. If you were going to add another D-ring, you could slide that on now. I'm not going to be adding a D-ring because I do not have any, although I love the look of it and I would if I had them, but I don't. So here we are, and I didn't think a rectangle ring would really add much function. If you want also at this stage, you could add your woven label under here. There, I'm gonna add mine like that. Now we're gonna top stitch. You can just top stitch all the way down to the end of this connector if you'd like. I'm gonna go down to the end and come back around, and then I'm gonna come back and do my boxed stitch just to reinforce it a little bit. There's my finished part. I'm going to draw with a chalk pencil the box here so that I can get nice accurate stitching, but that's this side done. I'm going to stitch up, down, and back up, and I'm going to tie my threads on the back so I won't be back stitching. One connector done. Let's work on the other side. You're going to fold this wrong sides together again. Go ahead and get your webbing, and you're going to slide your webbing till it's about a ½ inch poking out. You're going to stitch a 1/4 inch on these sides again. You're going to trim down these edges again, but do not cut your webbing. Flip this right side out. Now the top stitch side is going to be the opposite of your connector side over here, so just be mindful of that, so you're not top stitching on the bottom. Proper side up, that has been top stitched. Go ahead and kind of lay that down. You're going to take the tri-glide or slide adjuster and put it on so it is also right side up to your, so my top stitched side up. Slide this guy on there. Then you're going to take it, carefully take your swivel clasp and hook it around, okay? So now you should essentially have right side up, and this looped like that. Okay. Then you're going to flip it over and take this raw edge, and on the back side of this slide adjuster, I'm going to loop this through the top bar and then back down and come through. Okay. So now you have these pieces like this. Okay. Slinging this around, I'm going to fold this raw edge in and tuck it as close as I can, making sure everything is even. You want to tuck it as close as you can to top, so you can top stitch it. Here we go. So my machine foot's going to be right here. This really isn't enough room to top stitch, so I need to pull this through a little bit more. And I can pull all this out of the way. There we go, that's good. I'm just going to do 2 lines of stitching. You could do a box if you'd like. It's really up to you. And there you have it. The slide adjuster works with the clasp on the right side. And this has been tucked on the inside, so you don't even have that edge, okay? Now taking your back panel, these wings 1 1/4 inch down from the top edge of your back. I'm going to base this into place. There's the completed back panel. I'm going to go ahead and tie up these for final construction, but you can see that is ready to go. My front panel is just going to have a metal bag plate on the front. I am going to put my foam on now so that it can act as a cushion on the lining so that the lining doesn't get too messed up. It won't get messed up at all, actually. I'm going to take some double stick tape just to kind of hold this in place while we install our bag magnet. Our seam allowance is going to be 1/4 inch, and in my experience, really if it's 1/4 inch seam allowance, you have to take away 3/8 inch. So pretty much this being that, I want my bag magnet to be about there. So you got to take apart these magnets. They have little screws in the back of them. Okay. What you want to worry about is the screws here, because that is what we're gonna be attaching. You can go ahead and get a silver marking pen if you want, or you can just use like indentations. I'm just gonna put a little bit of silver on these holes here that I'll need to punch so that these little metal tubes can stick all the way through. Okay, I put the silver marking ink all around these little entrances. I have my center marked here. I'm gonna go up, so it'll probably end up being 1 1/4 up from the bottom edge centered, where these little bottom prongs will go. So my 4 is the center here, and I'm just gonna line up his little face with my 4 mark and then slowly push it down. Okay, and that should be even. With these kind of magnets, you do have to be exact. Also, I love the poof look that having foam gives. So just push that down and slowly lift it up. And you can see now we have little silver marks where we need to punch our holes in about how big they need to be punched. Now we should be able to see how the holes are a little bit bigger than normal because I need to fit this entire metal barrel through there. Okay. Alright, there we go. Make sure it's centered before we screw on the back. I think that looks good. Okay, flip it over. Now you're going to put on this plate that holds it in place. Just line everything up. I'm going to get a little bit of super glue and just super glue one hole at a time. Just a little bit of super glue. And then hurry up and get your screw and screw it in. Perfect. Now time for the other one. Make sure everything's lined up. Your last chance right now to make sure everything is lined up. And mine looks good. Put a little dab of super glue. You can also use Loctite. Just put, or not Loctite. Just put something in there to help the screws stay. Okay. So this will be on the inside of the bag. You won't see it. You know, you'll have your lining over it, but there's the outside. Cute. We're going to go ahead and finish building this front panel. I'm not doing card slots. If you were doing card slots, you do them now to finish this liner panel. That will be the back side of the front. Since I'm not doing that, I'm just going to line up my liner to my exterior and baste it in place. going to build both of our walls in the middle of the bag for the liners. They both have slip pockets on them. You could add the slip pockets to the front panel liner. As you can see in my bag, I added a slip pocket to this front panel. I like to just open bags and be able to slide something in there. I didn't do it for this bag. On the pattern, this is where your card slots would be. This time I'm going to put both liners on this middle wall here that we're creating, this one right here. So I'm going to have a slip pocket on one side and a slip pocket on the other. Taking your slip pocket, go ahead and top stitch down the folded edge of both of them. Find the center markings of both of these middle liners. Take your slip pocket and line it up on each side. We're just going to base along the 3 edges here. I'm going to end up putting the wrong side up so I can see where this curve is. You could trim it now if you want and line everything up. It's up to you. If you want to make a divided slip pocket, now you could do that as well. I'm not going to do it on this one. It's really not necessary in my opinion. And I'd like to save the thread and time on my machine. Okay, these 2 are done. Now we can go ahead and build the last piece of our panels, and that's going to be the interior back zipper pocket panel. So let's go ahead and grab those pieces. For this zippered pocket liner, find your centers of your main piece, and you just need the center of one top of your zipper pocket linings. We're going to draw a box on this that is 3/4 inches down from that edge that we found the center of, and it's going to be 3/4 inches in from each side. Okay, and it's going to be a 1/2 inch box, so draw a corresponding line 1/2 inch down from where you drew that one. If you want, you can connect these edges, up to you. Now with these right sides together, you're going to center this zipper pocket liner on this main piece. Now you are going to clip this in place and you're going to sew your zipper box. My industrial doesn't like sewing these little corners. It really pulls bad, so I'm just going to sew these 2 long lines here. And I am going to backstitch at the start and the stop. Okay, now we're going to draw a center line. If you're not good at eyeballing it, just draw this line. Okay, and then just draw little triangles in from this. It's about a 1/2 inch. It doesn't have to be perfectly exact. Don't make it too small or it'll be hard to keep these to stay tucked in while we're installing the zipper. Taking scissors or an X-Acto knife, get as close to your stitches as possible, but do not cut your stitches. Okay, it's very important you don't cut your stitches or you're going to have to start over. So you basically are making a little triangle, okay? The closer you get to your stitches, the better that the box will lay once it's flipped the right way out, okay? Now you can just take scissors and whiz down the middle there. I'm just going to use my X-Acto knife. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, now you got that little mouth, a little howler. We're going to want to fold this to the other side. I like to start doing this by just hand pressing. It is helpful to iron this. So I'm going to go over and iron it in a minute. I just wanted to show you how I fold everything first so that it stays nice in there. fold back this seam real nice right on that stitch line. The goal technically is to not see this liner on this outside here. Trust me, it's harder than it looks. So it's okay if your liner peeks through a little bit. We're calling it a design element. Okay. So that is how it looks. Just tuck everything through that box. And pay attention to these little corners. Make sure they're pretty straight. Alright. I'm going to go over to my iron and iron this flat. Probably use my tailor's wood thing to help this stay nice and flat, but that's essentially what we want right there. Okay, so now we have this all ironed and nice. Okay, go ahead and get your zipper tape. I'm going to put 1/8 inch tape along the top before I put on my pole. If you know how to put on a zipper overlay, this would be a good place for a zipper overlay instead. I just wanted to show this way. Now get your pole. And kind of squish it right in the middle, okay? With our pole going to the left, if that's how you want it, I mean, it doesn't honestly matter. Nobody cares, except for you and how you're going to use it. Standard is to the left. Untape both of these. Take off the paper. We're going to lay our zipper tape right side up. Okay, and we're going to center this box over it. Try to center it as best you can. And the tape should stick it down. Just like that. Now you're going to sew around this box. I'm not going to backstitch. I'm going to pull my thread tails to the back and tie them off there. I'm going to use the zipper foot. So let's top stitch around the box. I'm going to add freight check to this knot. Don't worry, it sinks in and you don't see it. It's almost like a liquidy glue. I'm also going to put it in all 4 of these corners, since they were cut right up to there, just to make sure they don't fray out. Okay, so now we have the zipper box done. We gotta attach the back. So you basically just line up your other liner here. You're going to stitch all the way around. You're going to be stitching though with the liner facing up like this all the way around. I do it at like a 1/4 inch seam allowance. There's our completed zipper pocket, and it should be fully closed now. We're going to finish building our final piece here before we start binding everything and making our zipper gussets. So taking our foam, that should be the same size as our liner and our exterior back here, we're just going to kind of sandwich the foam in between the liner and the exterior. Your liner might have shifted a little wobbly because of the pocket installation, but just kind of stretch it out. Make sure your pocket is laying flat in between the foam and the lining panel. Our exterior back and line that up. Now we're going to baste these two together. Make sure your zipper pull's out of the way. I'm going to do it with my lining side down since I have all this hardware right here. And just baste. Go ahead and trim up any excess foam or lining that sticks further than the exterior panel. It'll make it easier when you attach the gusset. Now you're going to take your front gusset zipper, which is the longest zipper you have left, your front gusset bottom, liner, and exterior. Find the centers of all of these pieces. At the centers of all your pieces, go ahead and add your zipper pull. The direction doesn't matter now. We will worry about that in the next step. Okay, so we're going to have our liner right side up, our zipper right side up, and then our exterior right side down. This will be the zipper sandwich, and you will sew this together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I would note that check the width of your zipper tape. It should be exactly the width of your front gusset, okay? If it's not, you'll need to adjust. It should be at least as wide. If it's wider, if your gussets are wider, then trim down your gussets to be the size of your zipper tape, or get new zipper tape. To reduce bulk, go ahead and cut down the liner and the exterior seam allowances. Just grade them down. I wouldn't recommend cutting your zipper tape. I mean, you can, but just trim that seam down on the corner so it'll help when we attach everything later. Okay, now pull these away from the zipper and top stitch at 1/8 of an inch right here. You're going to repeat this process for the other side. Okay, since I'm going to be having my zipper pull go the opposite way, make sure it's the way you want it facing to close. Okay, now that this is on here, I'm going to baste it on at an 1/8 inch seam allowance. This won't be the final shape of our bag. We just kind of are taking everything and putting it right in place. We will be doing the final shape next, and then we'll attach the binding. So it's a 3-step process. We've got 3 edges to bind. We can do it. You can start by just doing the long edges to hold them in place. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch it to where the gusset goes along my machine table. And I'm going to do the bottom around to the top and then switch from the top around to the bottom. I'm going to use my hemostats to help hold all these layers together. Go slow, take your time. I'll meet you back here once we baste that on. Okay, now that we've basted this on at an 1/8 of an inch, I trimmed up any overhang that I had on corners. Now we're going to sew this. It should be much easier now that everything's attached. We're going to sew this at a 1/4 inch, which is our final seam allowance. This will affect the shape of your bag, so just take it slow and go slowly around all the curves. and try to get as accurate as you can, a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'll meet you back here when we're done. Okay, now that that is sewn at a 1/4 inch seam allowance, this will be the final shape of our bag in here. Sometimes it can be a little hard with your zipper tape and a normal foot. Sometimes maybe just get like your zipper foot to sew with your zipper tape part so that you can get that true 1/4 inch seam allowance. Try not to pull. Sometimes I'll even make my stitches bigger on the zipper tape so that I don't have too much pulling and stretching. But there's that. Now we're going to attach our binding. I'm just using this fold over elastic. It's really the easiest in my opinion. I'm going to not start it over here where the zipper tape is. Normally I would start my binding on the top so that it's hidden under the gusset, but we don't have that here. So I'm just going to start it on the side over here and go ahead and clip this around. I'm going to be pulling slightly, not a lot, okay, just a little bit. And it's easy to line up where that middle line is with the edge of our seam here. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and sew around. I'm going to put my gusset on the table again, and I'm just going to start here at the raw edge and sew all the way around. I'm going to use a little bit less than a 1/4 inch seam allowance and just attach that on. When you come back to the end, you can fold it over to hide the raw edge, or you can just burn this. I just like to fold it over and then cover that raw edge right here like that. Okay, it's done. Now, if we fold it out and just check everything, and you just tuck your seam as like, almost like, it's like a stabilizer itself, which is why you don't really need much stabilizer, especially because it's such a tiny little area. But you can just kind of shape it. Okay. And there you go. That's how it's looking. Perfect. Okay. Lovely. And I've had people ask me like, oh, doesn't your binding get in the way of your zipper? And mine doesn't. I don't know. It's like literally smooth as butter. Okay. So I know it looks like it'd be in the way, but it just kind of glides right along it. I don't know if it's because it's elastic and it's super slippery, but it looks nice. So there's this part. Let's move on. Now we're going to take our 2 linings with the slip pockets and put them wrong sides together. We're going to baste these together and then attach that front panel with the gusset to it. So go ahead and baste these 2 pieces together and I'll meet you back here. Okay, now taking your front panel, and you should still have your center markings. If you need to, remark it right there. Right there, I think, yeah. Okay. Figure out which one you want to be on the inside of the front pocket and which one you want to be on the inside of the main compartment. I want the main compartment to be this little, no, I want this guy to be on my front compartment, so when you open the bag, you see his little face. So I'm going to put that side facing up. Whatever side you want to be inside your little compartment, that's what faces up, okay? This will be inside the main compartment. Now you're going to take your completed little front thing and we just lay it right side on top. So like right side up, right side up. And we are going to line up the centers. And you are just going to baste this onto here. We're just basting it, okay? Might be helpful to go ahead and open your zipper. And if you need to cut little relief cuts, you can do that. I would not do that in your zipper tape personally. Okay, you can have a shred. It's a thing. And then we're going to line up the bottom here with our center marking. I'm going to use these thicker. It's starting to get a little thick here. So I like these binder clips for the thick stuff. And I don't break my precious glitter clips. Okay, so now we're going to baste this on. I'm going to do it with my exterior side up, just for the zipper part. And then I'm going to flip around and do it like this for my gusset part. So, for down here on these corners. And we're just basting with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. We will be finishing off this in a minute after we... It's a little bit tricky. The first time I made it, I was like, wait, what are we doing? But trust me, this is how it happens. So I'm going to go ahead and baste it on with my exterior side up. Pull the zipper pull out of the way as you need. There we go. We have this completed portion. So you can see everything's attached, and if you open it up, that's what it'll look like when we go inside, okay? That's the front. So see, you really can't see the bottom fabric here. That's why I was like, don't even worry about it being cute, because you're not even going to see it. Just save your cute stuff. Your binding mostly covers it, so... Alright, now we're going to get our stuff to build our last gusset, so let's do that. Okay, so I have my top gusset for the main part, liner and exterior, and my bottom liner and exterior and my zipper. And I'm going to pop this piece of foam in the bottom before we close up the open edges. Take your gussets and your top gusset and find the centers. You will be using this at the end when you're assembling the bag here. Get your double stick tape. I would use 1/8 inch because the seam allowance is 1/4. I'm not going to add my pole just yet. I'm going to find the centers of my tape without the pole being on there. When we attach zipper to zipper, this is when you'll need the measurements, so it's just easier to do it now. I like to use this air erasing marker because I can see it through most zipper tapes. And then I can mark it on the outside and on the inside, the liner part of it. Okay. Lay your zipper tape right side down and find, line up your centers that you marked on both. And sew this with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Once we put the liner on. Okay, so those are right sides together. Another stitch of tape here. And I don't like to sew baste these together. I find it makes a wavy zipper, personally. So it's up to you what you want to do. I highly encourage you just to tape everything, okay? Okay. Go ahead and sew this edge together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now before you move on, you want to make sure that these are the same width. And it's right on the money for me, but your zipper tape might be a different size. So keep that in mind. And trim whichever one needs to be less. If this is too big, trim down this side here. before you put on your zipper pull, it'll make it easier. If this is too big, trim these two down before you get going, okay? You just want them to be the same size. We're going to add our zipper pull. So this is going to be the back of my bag attached, and I want my zipper pull to close over here. It's opposite of my front, remember, that's how I'm doing it. So I'm going to attach my pull on this side. And see how that's off a little bit? You really want to make sure it's right on the money. If you have a cool contraption to put these on, do that. Okay, now you can go ahead and take your bottom exterior and lay it right sides together. Flip it over, and then this is going to be lining down, and I want to see where I want to put my, I have a directional print, so I had to think about it. Okay, so we're going to sew this seam at a 1/4 inch seam allowance, pull them back, and then top stitch at an 1/8 inch. Go ahead and trim these edges. Do not trim the zipper tape, but you can trim everything else. So just be careful. Okay, now fold all these back and top stitch 1/8 of an inch away. You're going to do the same thing on this other side. Right sides together for the exteriors, and then the liner should be right sides together as well. Quarter inch seam allowance. Okay, now before we go along, we're gonna get we have the centers on the top here. I'm gonna go ahead and just mark it one more time. And I'm going to do the bottom centers. You don't need to worry about the liner part, just mainly the outside. The exterior. Slide up those seams. Now at this point, if you want to make it a little bit stiffer of a bag, even more so, I have thick vinyl. I'm considering, I think I'll do it. I'm going to put some poly boning inside of here before I close up this raw edge. And then we're going to add this piece of foam is 15 by 1 3/4. It should be just enough to leave out of the seam allowance. I'm going to pop that right in here and line it right in the middle where the Decoville is, and I'm going to just clip it down the sides just to kind of hold it in place. It might be a smidge too long once you go through. Plus foam is kind of stretchy, so. My friends would say I'm the queen of over interfacing though, so take my opinion on this with a grain of salt. My foam is a little too long. Do you see? It's a little too long. I'm just going to trim it. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just wanted to make sure we had enough. Looks like we had about a 1/2 inch too much. Nope, 3/4 of an inch. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and clip that all the way. And I'm going to go get my poly boning, and I'll show you how I put that in. Here's my poly boning. This is linked in my description below. So please find it there. I like to put a piece of double stick tape that's 1/2 inch over the edge here, and it'll stick to itself. That way it just doesn't have any scratchy edges going in there. And then I just take it and I tuck it right in along the zipper, or like right in this panel right here. Just tuck it right along there. And we're just going to get close and see. I'll tell you how long it should be. Let's see, I'm going to say about right here. Okay, let's see how long it is. This is about 10 1/4. So it doesn't have to be super tight in there. It does help the tighter it is to help pop it up. Alright, see, and now we just tuck it back in there in the corners. And I don't tape it down because I can move it with my fingers once everything's in place, but I just tuck it right up in this corner is where it's gone on each side. Okay, now we can clip this edge. And we are going to baste this entire ring on both sides. It'll only be half of a ring on the other side because it has zipper tape, okay? But go ahead and baste this down. Okay, so now we have our last gusset ring done. I'm going to just burn these little threads in case I get some popping through. I'm going to go ahead and trim up. I usually have like little nubs that hang off right here. I'm just like getting it even, okay? This one's pretty even. I did pretty good this time. Here. Okay. There's that. And then let's do down here. So find your center mark. Match up your center marks. So it can get pretty thick down here. If your machine can't do thickness, you might want to consider doing not waterproof canvas or keeping your woven interfacing out of your seams. So we're going to do like we did for the front panel. We're going to baste these long sides first, and then we'll flip it, and then we'll do the sides. It just makes it so it doesn't shift at all or anything on you. Okay, there we go. So we're going to go ahead and only sew this. We're only going to sew on the tape first, okay? I'm going to use a 5-stitch length instead of my normal 4. I don't want the stitches to be too tight, okay? So a 5-stitch length, and we're going to have this flat on the machine bed like this. And then I'm going to flip it over and go like this for the vinyl parts, okay? Okay, so we've got this basted on. Now we're going to do the 1/4 inch, which is our seam allowance, and then we'll put the binding over and do basically a 1/4 inch again. Before you do your 1/4 inch, I like to take my scissors and trim any overhang. It just helps make the seam super nice when you bind it. And I usually always have some stuff in the corners. Let's go ahead and sew our 1/4 inch. Okay, this is our second seam we're gonna bind, and then we only have one more left to do after this one. The hardest part is done, attaching the zipper to the zipper at the final seam allowance. So I'm not gonna start my binding by a zipper. I'm gonna do it on the side. It's a little thick, so just be careful. And slightly stretch it as you go around curves, so it won't be rumply. Don't make your binding too tight on the zipper part. You don't want it caving in your zipper, so you really just want to kind of lightly lay it down. and trim it a little longer. I'm going to burn my edges to seal them. Alright, now we're going to attach this. Okay, now we have this part attached. Last go around. You ready? We're gonna get our exterior backing, and the exterior goes on the inside. Leave everything unzipped. It makes it a little easier. You're gonna mush this and match your centers, and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna baste at 1/8 of an inch. Then we're going to go ahead and sew our 1/4 inch seam allowance. Then we're going to put on our elastic and do a scant 1/4 inch. And then I will meet you back here when we are going to turn the bag right side out, okay? Okay, we are done. Everything is bound. Now we're going to turn it right side out. Just going to be really careful because my vinyl, I need to do the corners, and it's a little bit of a hard bag to turn just because of that front pocket, so just keep going. You really just need to push out this front or bottom. Pushing out those corners. Separating that seam a little. We'll need a good press since I did mine out of vinyl. See how our zippers turned out. This is always the nerve-wracking part. Oh, they turned out great. So I like the zipper pulls on opposite sides for sure. I like that a lot. I'm just folding down this binding here. So these zippers can kind of go in the middle. A lot of a bag is just shaping it. You can quick train it. I'm gonna iron mine. You can do a blow dryer. There's lots of ways to train. Oh, that's so cute. So I have a lot of wrinkles. This is kind of a wrinkly vinyl. It's just kind of like almost like a patina. But there, you can see. There's our double zipper, and then this guy comes around and he locks here. You might want a shorter strap if you're a smaller, more petite person, like less of a length. But there you have it. I'm gonna go iron this one, and I'll meet you back here for an overview. We did it! Victorious! So what What'd you think of the sew? It's not as hard as you thought, huh? With the little zipper. You just gotta go slow. Go slow and do not pull. And they look great. I am also loving this opposite way zipper. It was easier to install at this time than the first time I made the bag. And they glide great. See, even with the binding right there, you'd think it wouldn't, but it does. I'm really proud of you. You did it. Go give yourself a little treat. I'll see you next time. Bye. This is Halloween. This is Halloween. I'm like such a backplate girly. I love backplates now. Can we have more? Hardware designers, we need more. You can't handle the truth. I'm proud of you. Beep, 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 beep. These have to be the fanciest belt bags I've ever made. Oh, it's a cargo. No, it's a cargo belt bag. Essential cargo belt bag. You're definitely essential. I like this. I like this. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Booyah! I got zippers. Strapped on zippers. Okay. That's it for me. You want to see my butts?